keeping Suffolk County safe. I would also like to thank Joshua Smith, the airport manager, Captain Mike Rhodes from the New York State Police, Bowman Prendergrass, Scott Poser, and Jeff Van Houten from Fire Rescue and Emergency Services, the 106th Rescue Wing Air National Guard, Legislator Welker, Legislator Kennedy, Legislator Stark, and Legislator Donnelly for being here for something that's extremely important and something that is continuing to grow here in Suffolk County. We've all heard about the rise in drone activity across the tri-state area, but what concerns us even more is the increase in unauthorized drone flights within the restricted airspaces, particularly near airports like Gabreski. Over the past weeks, we have documented multiple incidents of drones being flown dangerously close to this airport, which is a clear violation of the federal aviation regulations. On December 13th, one drone was spotted outside of the Gabreski airport space. On December 17th, 4 drones were sighted in and around the airspace. On December 24th, 6 drones reported, and on Christmas Day, December 25th, 17 drones reported, 13 hovering around the airspace, and 3 immediately outside the airspace. Flying drones near airports pose a significant risk to air traffic and public safety. Unauthorized drones can not only disrupt the usual airport functions, but also the military operations that take place here. In addition, drones can be used maliciously, which raises serious concerns about security and potential threats. Additionally, there are aircraft. These aircrafts are not only guaranteed to stay up in the air, they crash into the water, other people's houses, and on airports and terminals when they lose their signal, the battery fails, or some other unknown reason. Violating FAA regulations by flying a drone in restricted airspace is a serious offense, and we want to make sure that the public is fully aware of these consequences. Civil penalties, both federal, state, and local, criminal penalties, reckless operation of a drone that endangers lives and property, which can result in fines of up to $250,000 and up to 3 years in prison. Operating without regulations, flying a drone without proper registration can lead to additional civil penalties of up to $27,500, seizure of the drones and revoking licenses, and if a drone crashes on a military facility, criminal and civil penalties will be issued as well. To address these issues, we are working with Fire Rescue and Emergency Service to implement advanced drone detection technologies at this airport. These systems will help us identify and respond quickly to unauthorized drone activity. With the holidays just behind us, many of you and your loved ones may have received a drone as a gift. While they can be exciting and fun to use, it's essential to understand the rules and responsibilities that come with operating them. Please make sure your drone is registered and you are familiar with the FAA regulations, including where you can and cannot fly. There are plenty of spaces on Long Island where drones can be flown safely and legally, but flying near airports or other restricted areas is not only illegal, but incredibly dangerous. Our top priority is the safety and security of Suffolk County residents and visitors. We encourage everyone to enjoy their new technology responsibly and within the bounds of law. Remember, violating these rules can have severe consequences, including heavy fines and potential imprisonment, and it's truly not worth the risk. And now I would like to introduce Suffolk County Executive Ed Romaine.
Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you.
I want to thank our legislators, and we're also joined by our County Comptroller, John Kennedy. I'm going to give the Sheriff, this is a personal drone that's flown, but the ones we're talking about could be 20 times larger than this, sometimes as large as a car, that pose a challenge. This one is known as Froggy.
Thank you.
This is an ever-increasing problem. I'm calling on the FAA today to empower the FBI to begin investigation of these drones and to arrest and charge those who are using these very large drones that are flying that have been spotted illegally, particularly in light of the fact that they're flying near this airport and threatening airspace. Drones of this size, not the small one like this guy here, but drones of this size, the much larger ones, pose a threat to airspace. This is something that has become increasingly concerning to many of the residents of Suffolk County, and we've got, through our police departments, sheriff's office, and the sheriff's office is responsible for the airspace around this airport, reports of drones, and we need the FAA and the FBI to step up and enforce the law. The sheriff just spoke of some of the penalties and the dangers that these drones have presented to us. We have to answer that danger by asking our federal authorities to step up to the plate and do the job. I know my colleague in Nassau County jokingly suggested we should shoot them down. That's not an option. These things, when they fall from the sky, pose grave danger. These things, as they fly, affect our airspace and the safe use of our airspace. This is a federal responsibility. I'm asking the FAA to work with the FBI to come out and follow up on each of these drone reports to determine who's behind it and to prosecute where necessary. I thank the sheriff for calling attention to this. This is something we're going to work with together, myself and all the police agencies in this county, to ensure that our airspace is safe, our airports are not threatened, and, as the sheriff said, not the small guys, but when these large guys fall from the sky, that they don't endanger our neighborhoods and our roadways. Thank you. Would any of the legislators like to comment? Your press conference, sir.
Just a quick thank you. My name's Ann Welker, Suffolk County Legislator for District Number 2, and I'd like to...
Which is your district?
This is my district, town of East Hampton and most of the town of Southampton, including Suffolk County-owned Gabreski Airport. A deep appreciation and thank you to Sheriff Toulon and also to County Executive Romaine for bringing attention to this critically important aspect of the irresponsible use of drones. They're not a toy and they should not be treated as such. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen,
He counts the money.
and to the county executive's point and the sheriff's point, not only is this a critical safety issue, but there are multiple millions of dollars of investment here in the Gabreski Airport and ongoing initiatives that reflect the whole of Suffolk County. Not only do we want to protect our military installation, our civilian and commercial aircraft, but we want to be proactive and protective on the considerable municipal investment that we have. And I commend both the county executive and the sheriff for being forward-thinking and identifying the grave risk that we have. It's safety, and quite frankly, it's money, ladies and gentlemen. And so I applaud them for this action. Thank you.
More importantly, in my closing remarks, if anyone knows of someone that's flying a drone over the airspace illegally, please report it to your local law enforcement agency so we can investigate it and go after those individuals that are doing it. We do investigate when we do get reports, but if you know of someone specifically that's doing it, we ask you to contact your local law enforcement agency so we can investigate. Open up to any questions.
Sheriff, if you can't shoot them down, how do you propose to protect against them flying over the airspace?
You know, attempting to disable them while they're in the air could be extremely dangerous because they are moving. So what we have to do is really just investigate when we get these 911 calls and see who is doing this so we can go after those perpetrators. Shooting down anything in the air is extremely dangerous. I don't know if you've ever gone clay shooting, but it's tough sometimes.
How are commercial drones restricted?
Where's Chris? Oh,
Chris Brockmeyer, I'm the Chief Deputy Sheriff with the Sheriff's Office. So in and around this airspace, there's a notification system that anybody operating a drone, whether it be commercial drone operators or recreational operators, have to go through. It's called the LANC system, the Low Altitude Authorization Notification Capability System, and it's basically an FAA system that drone operators will go through to get authorization to fly in and around the Gabreski airspace or any airport airspace. But Gabreski in particular is a controlled airspace, Class D airspace, and based on the system that I just mentioned, the LANC system, there will be altitudes that are authorized as it grows out from the actual airport. So obviously within the direct vicinity of this airport, it's more restricted. Right here in particular, 0 altitude, so you're not allowed to fly a drone in the airspace we're in now, right here. As you move further out from the central point of the airport, the altitude restrictions rise up a little bit, and then all the way out to the perimeter. The airspace here at Gabreski goes out to 5 miles, so it's fairly large, and Islip airspace goes out even further. So depending on where you live, you need to be aware of this. Now, a lot of families have given this to their children and may not be aware of the requirements surrounding this. And that's really, again, my hope is to get this information out. We're not going to go out and look to ruin your day and come knocking on your door and upset everybody. But it does pose a serious safety hazard, because what we have seen over the last few weeks is we're not talking about 5 miles out, we're talking about over the airport, over taxiways, over runways, and that's a serious safety concern. It's impacted air operations, and we're not going to stand for it. So again, I appreciate the sheriff and the county executive and our local officials here that are bringing this to everyone's attention.
Have you been able to identify any of the operators from the mentioned?
So we have not identified anyone as of yet, and as was mentioned prior, FRES, Fire Rescue and Emergency Services, has a mobile detection system that we will be implementing in the very near future, possibly by the end of today. And that detection system will allow us to help identify not only where these are taking off from, but also the IDs that are associated with these drones. And we're going to use that information to potentially go and knock on doors or locate the actual operator and have a conversation as to what they're doing. And if we're finding that it's nefarious and that they're actually trying to disrupt air traffic, that could be criminal charges that will be applied to them. Again, that's not our goal here. Our goal is to just get the message out, and hopefully people will understand the rules required to operate in this airspace and act accordingly.
This is no different than the laser light. That people got these laser lights and then they were using them to disrupt air traffic. And the feds investigated that and took action and sent a very strong signal that you can't do that because you're disrupting air travel. Drones have the same capacity to disrupt safe air travel, particularly around an airport that has civilian and military use. This is something that once we get this detection system, mobile detection system in place, we will be looking to our federal partners to pursue whatever remedies are necessary to shut down and send a signal that this is not acceptable.
Did those drones identify and vary in size from the kind of personal ones to larger ones?
Obviously, it's the larger ones that pose the most danger. There are some as large as cars, from what we've heard. This small one is like something you would give a child. But even this could pose a danger if it was flown in airspace around this airport as a military plane was landing or something of that nature. So we're asking people to be concerned, to follow up, to know where you can fly the personal ones safely, and anything larger, be aware. We're going to track it.
Have you already been in touch with the federal authorities about this?
You want to speak? No, you go.
So any intrusion into the airspace in and around this, it generally goes through the tower, the air traffic control tower here. They'll make notifications to the local FAA resources. The FBI, I have been in contact with the FBI on this. They do proactively go out and investigate reports of this. So yes, we have been in contact with the FBI, and again, I second what the county executive has said. You know, we need cooperation with our federal partners because this is a federal problem. You know, the airspace is governed by the FAA, not necessarily local entities, but we will do our best and attempt to knock on doors and get the message out as we're able to make sure that people understand the rules surrounding the use of this, and if needed, you know, bring them to the proper authorities to meet their judgment.
Drones need to be registered with the FAA for the mobile detection system to identify them?
So, you know, the technology is evolving. Depending on the size of the drone, a drone that's 0.55 pounds or more are required to be registered with the FAA and receive a remote ID. That's the requirement. Now, if you're not registering it and you don't know that you have to register it, you might not be doing that. So again, the hope here is to not only get that message out, but also to make sure that people understand what the requirements are. So yes, depending on the size of the drone, you are required to register it.
And obviously, security is a concern, and safety is a concern, because could these drones be used for nefarious purposes? Absolutely. We're seeing cars being used to kill people. So think about that. These drones could pose a serious danger. We're taking steps now with this detection system. And you know what? Yeah, the good people who have drones will register them. The bad people may not. And that's why we have to follow up on all of this. And this is why the FBI and the FAA have to work very closely with our sheriff and our law enforcement partners here in Suffolk County.
And just lastly, you know, we're also concerned because we've seen across the country drones being used to drop contraband into various jails and prisons across the United States. So, you know, I want to thank Commissioner Sunderman for helping us, and of course County Executive Romaine, helping us with this technology, because we want to avoid any type of contraband, whether they're drugs or weapons, being dropped into yards where inmates congregate during the day, and those weapons or drugs could possibly enter the facility and then cause us more problems than we have. But with that, I'd like to thank all of you. I wish all of you and your families a Happy New Year, and we'll be around for personal interviews if you like.
Thank you, and I
thank
want
you.
to